We hear the phrase all the time, be your best self. But what in the world does that mean, and how do we achieve it?
Michael, you work with a lot of coaches and athletes. Do you find that a lot of themselves fall into the trap of comparing themselves to other athletes and coaches?
Not just athletes and coaches, but every human being on the planet has a temptation to fall into the comparison trap. So what I would say to our coaches, what I would say to our athletes is, while I don't want you to be doing comparison, it's okay to be doing comparing.
What's the difference?
So the difference between comparing, and comparison says, I want what you have without doing what you did. Or why do you get that and I don't? It's almost like this scarcity mindset. Like you have it, I don't. And so there's jealousy woven into the comparison trap. Comparing is, if I'm an athlete and I look at, if I'm a quarterback and I look at another quarterback and say, ooh, I admire that. I'm comparing my talent to that talent. I'm comparing my attitude to that attitude. I want you to keep doing that, but I'm going to do it too. Comparing is positive. Comparing is where we actually say, I want to be like you. I'm going to watch you. I'm going to mimic you. I'm going to learn from you. I'm going to grow because you are a great model and example. Comparison is, that's not fair.
Right.
Why them, not me?
It's interesting that you use quarterback as an example because Paul and I have talked about this quite a bit. When Paul started out at SC, the quarterback there was a guy named Vince Evans, who was supremely athletic, strong, could throw the ball a mile, fast. And Paul saw this guy as somebody who is such a supreme athlete that if that was who Paul had to be, there was no way he'd be able to compete because he didn't have those same attributes. No. So what he tried to do is figure out, okay, what do I do to become a great quarterback? It doesn't have to be those elements. They could be maybe other elements. Paul, give me an example of.
Well, it doesn't have to look like Vince Evans because I couldn't throw the ball 75 yards. I could throw it 50 yards maybe, okay? I couldn't run 4.6 in the 40. Probably ran about 5 flat, but spent time with the track coach. So I worked on to shore up some weaknesses, which was speed and arm strength and those kinds of things, and weight and strength and but I didn't spend my time wanting to be Vince Evans.
That's right.
I spent my time wanting to be Paul McDonald, and what I did well, naturally, innately, was I was accurate, and I spent more time developing that accuracy, and I was cerebral, so I spent more time in the classroom, watching film, studying the playbook and defenses, so I really could understand what to do with the ball more quickly, which could compensate for the lack of zip maybe that I put on the ball. So I focused on me instead of what I couldn't have, what Vince Evans was.
Well, that's the title of this podcast episode. Be your best self.
Right.
That's the emphasis. Be your best self, not be Jack, not be Michael, not be Vince.
Exactly.
Be your best self. But I would also say at the very core of becoming your best version, becoming your best self, is belief. That's the foundation. In fact, I'll say it this way. The most important thing about any human being is what comes into their mind when they think about themselves. Your belief about yourself is the foundation for becoming your best self.
So I'll use Paul as the example. If Paul didn't have that sort of self-belief and he saw a guy like Vince Evans who was more athletic than him, he'd have just been like, I quit. I can't play here. I'm just not good enough.
Wouldn't have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but having that self-belief and knowing that he was a good quarterback, just a different type of good quarterback, is what worked for him.
Well, and again, belief is the foundation. But then when I think about it, when people say to me, how do I be my best self? Or oftentimes they phrase it differently. They say, help me brand myself. And I'm like, okay, so let's talk about branding. We're talking about athletics, let's talk about branding. So I would say that branding is step 5. There's step 1, 2, 3, 4 before branding. They're all B's. Belief, beginning, becoming, belonging, and then branding. See, what typically people want is, help me brand myself. Because they're thinking that's what it means to be my best self. My brand is me. No, your brand is an expression of what is reality. In fact, I would say branding is this. Your public persona should always be an accurate reflection of your private reality. Yeah, that's a true, genuine brand. Now, before branding though, if I have belief followed by beginning. So what is my next choice? What are the series of choices? You listed even to become a great quarterback. Here are the choices I made. I began this, I chose this, I decided this, and I began. So belief, beginning, and then look. Step 3, becoming. So as you begin and keep making those choices over and over again, now I've become the quarterback, the man, the father, the husband, the leader that I wanted to be. The 4th, though, is belonging. Who are my people? So I'm not going to become the best version of myself as an island. I'm not going to become the best version of myself doing it all alone, that Lone Ranger mentality. No, we're a village. We are a community. And so we need each other. And so belonging, who are my people? Because we resemble with whom we relate. And so that's how I would want to conceptualize this entire conversation. Belief, beginning, becoming, belonging. Oh, I have a brand.
You know, it's interesting. I love the belonging one because I think in our country, we have this sense of this rugged individualism, the self-made man who pulls them up by the bootstraps and did it all himself. And anybody who's really achieved a great level of success, who's honest, will tell you they couldn't have done it themselves.
No. I was recently doing a podcast with an individual who's a CEO who is extraordinarily successful. His name is Leo Carrillo, and he is the CEO and the president of Haircraft Company. And actually, he talked about earned opportunity. He had tremendous opportunities. His family, people around him, he did earn it because he had to execute. He had to make some really hard decisions to get where he is in this world. Yet, it's earned opportunity. Opportunity from other people that they provided, that community, is what set him up for success. Now, obviously, he had to run down that path. He had to keep going forward and not quit and give up. But I think whenever we get in a position of entitlement, we tend to be in a really bad place. In fact, my 2 favorite words in the English language are intentionality and undeservedly. Intentionality, the next choice. I'm going to be very intentional, very proactive in my choices, in all the dimensions of my life. And undeservedly, that everything that I get and all the blessings of life are a gift. Because if I ever get into a point where I start thinking, I deserve this, what goes into the comparison trap too? Not you, I deserve this. That scarcity mindset, I guarantee you will absolutely not be your best self.
So I've got a question. Let's shift back to the youth again.
Okay.
Social media is prevalent in our society today, especially with the young. And you can't help but compare and look at others and then think maybe poorly of ourselves in comparison, right? So how do we combat that? What's the recommendation, suggestion?
Well, again, this is where it goes back to circumstance versus choice. Everything in life is either a circumstance or a choice. And we even talk about social media, we talk about it as a circumstance. We have all the social media around us, we have all of these things, and we're comparing. I picked up the phone. I logged into the social media. I spent this amount of time looking at social media. You can put the phone down.
Right.
I mean, I know student athletes, and this is amazing. I know student athletes, because of all that controversy and all those things out there, they want to be focused on their competition. They have removed those apps from their phone. Or even for not forever, but for 3 weeks.
Season or
yeah,
something.
season. I'm not going to engage. And so, like you said, how do we do it? You put your phone down.
You know,
turn it off.
I have a slightly different perspective on that because if you do go to the phone and you do go to the social media sites, you can also choose to go to the ones that are positive.
Absolutely.
And so if you decide that you do want to get on there, you do want to have that communication, because I think people beat up social media as this great ill, but the reality is it's just our choice as to which part of social media we want to engage with.
Well, now you're speaking my language, because everything's a choice. So I would never slam social media, because that's what we do.
Right.
We blame social media.
Yeah,
It's like,
villainize it.
why am I blaming something outside of me for the person I'm becoming?
Right.
I'm digesting it. I'm consuming it. I'm obsessing. I have choices to make.
Yeah.
Now, it was funny. People always talk in terms of circumstances. That I'm not my best self because of this, or because of this,
Right.
or this circumstance. Now, I would say, obviously, we all have those struggles and those scars and those storms that have entered our lives.
Right.
They're shapers, but they're not definers. I get to decide what defines me.
Hey, Paul.
Yeah.
This is the part where we're supposed to tell people to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Okay, will you please do that then? I mean,
Yeah.
if you enjoy it,
Yeah.
please do.
And if you don't, do it anyways, because we need your help.
We do.
Also, we have a website called GameChangeNation.com. Just go there and subscribe and you'll get tons of free content.
And what we're really trying to do is create a community of people that love sports.
Yep.
And the great lessons that we learn from sports, but we want to hear from you.
We do. So we're going to have a bunch of social media pages from TikTok to Instagram to Twitter to Facebook. Instagram, I probably already said all of them. Please join them and tell us your stories. We'd love to hear from you. Oh, and we wrote a book.
Oh,
Forgot about that.
Forgot that.
The book is called Through the Tunnel. It's available on Amazon now. If you go straight down here to this link that you can see below us, you will be able to purchase it. We'd love it if you could do it.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.